Introducing attorney Audrey Chisholm.
All right. Well, happy MLK to everyone. I'm so happy to be here. And I'd just like to start by thanking Mr. Davis for this incredible program. Let's put it together for him. Put our hands together for just coordinating this great event. To the president of Stetson University, to our elected officials, to all the dignitaries, and to all of the guests. Let's just give a round of applause for you. 29, 2,501. 29, 2,501. These three numbers are indicative of three things that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. knew about leadership, about getting things done, about impacting people, and about making a difference that all of us could benefit from. Let's be honest, it's not easy to get things done. Even in the 21st century, although we have the internet, we have social media, we have so many things that Dr. King didn't have when he did his movement, it's still really challenging to make a difference. If you're a student here today, you have the pressures of school, things you're dealing with your family. You're thinking about your future, how to go to college. You might be the first one to go to college. Can you really do it? If you're already in college, you have the pressure of paying for school. You're thinking about your future, your career. Will you have a job? Will you do what you love? Will you be able to find something? If you're already a professional and you're working, you're thinking about keeping your job. Maybe you don't even like your job. Maybe you're wondering if you've really found your purpose. Perhaps you have a relationship. You might be married. You might have children. I mean, there are so many things that you're dealing with. And to top it all off, you're dealing with real life. And then to think about impacting the world like Dr. King did. To think about making a difference, to think about effectuating change, to think about having the time and the energy to really propose a movement, that's a lot. How did he do it? How was he able to juggle family, education, his obligations to his community, and ultimately change the world to the point where we're still talking about him today? Well, the good news is those three numbers, 29, 2,501, those three numbers represent three things that Dr. King knew that we can use to be successful in the challenges that we're facing, that we can use to overcome our own obstacles, that we can use to really reach inside of ourselves and not just celebrate his legacy, but create a legacy of our own. So that's what we're going to talk about today, those three numbers and how we can use the success strategies that Dr. King used to make a difference in our culture, in our society. And the good news is if those three strategies that we're about to talk about, if they don't really, address everything that you're dealing with, I'm also going to share one more at the end of the presentation that'll hopefully reach you and provide some information and resources to help you right where you are. So let's dive in. The first strategy, the number 29. The number 29, what does that represent? The number 29 represents the number of times that Dr. King was in jail, 29 times. Him being in jail represents what we would call a setback. While he was in jail, he couldn't work. He couldn't be with his family. He couldn't really be active or hands-on with his movement. It was a setback. It was something that life threw at him that really put a pause in his plans. That happens to all of us. We all run into setbacks. And oftentimes, out of those 29 times when he was in jail, it wasn't his fault. Sometimes he was just driving and perhaps, someone stopped him and they said, oh, you were, a little over the speed limit, or he was profiled, or a lot of times he was in jail for reasons that really weren't valid. Think about your own life. All of us deal with things that we feel are not fair. It could be your family environment. It could be something that happened at work. You lost your job. You're a student. You tried your best. You still didn't pass the class. You were held back. Maybe you got sick. You're in a financial situation because of medical bills, something that happened to you physically that was beyond your control. We all run into setbacks. But how does the number 29 help us? How does that show us or share with us something that can help us learn and advance so that we can overcome our own obstacles? The 29 times that he was in jail, Dr. King did something that was so poignant that can help us all. While he was in jail, he chose to learn from others. That's our first strategy. That's our first point. He chose to learn from others. He didn't just, stay in his cell and think about all the awful things people were saying about him or were doing to him or how unfair things were. Perhaps he had those thoughts. But in addition to that, he chose to use that time, to use that as an opportunity to learn from others. Dr. King was reading books like the Bible while he was in jail. He was studying Socrates. He was studying the teachings of Gandhi, other leaders. He was learning about other movements and how those individuals were able to overcome similar obstacles. He was getting his strategy together. That's something that we can learn from. So when we're faced with setbacks, when we're faced with obstacles, instead of really thinking about the situation itself, we can see it as an opportunity to get a strategy, to find answers, and to learn from others. I'll share a brief story. We watched the video, we heard my bio about some of the remarkable things that God has allowed to happen in my life, but something that wasn't mentioned was one of the setbacks. When I graduated from Florida State University, yes, I graduated as president of my senior class. Yes, I was blessed to be elected homecoming queen at a university with over 40,000 students. A lot of accolades, a lot of awards. But after I graduated, I was excited. I was ready to take over the world. I'm like, yes, I'm going to be a lawyer. That's my dream. I'm applying for law school. I'm ready to go. That's where many of you may be. You have a dream, you're excited about it, and you're ready to move forward. But then sometimes life presents a setback, just like Dr. King being in jail. Now, obviously, I wasn't in jail. I can't compare it to that, but everyone has a setback. So I graduated, I'm excited, I've got this degree, I've worked hard, I'm ready to just jump out there and get a good career and really live my dream. But something happened. I applied to all these schools, I was excited. I'm president of my class, I've got great grades, great test scores, wonderful letters of recommendation. I'm ready to just accept the offers and take my pick at what law school I'm going to go to. But it didn't work out that way. I was checking the mail. I was so excited. I'm like, okay, I'm getting letters back. Let's look at these acceptance letters and, get excited. And I'm opening up the letters, and every school that I applied to put me on what's called the wait list. Now, the wait list is a polite way to say, okay, if someone chooses not to come and we have an extra seat, then we'll let you in. And then my own alma mater, they rejected me. So I'm looking at these letters, and I'm like, whoa. This isn't what I had planned. I thought I was going to be a lawyer. That was my dream. I worked hard. I did all the things they tell you to. I studied. I got good grades and, did well on my tests and put together a remarkable application. But I didn't get into any of the schools I applied to. That might be you. You might be trying to do something, trying to go to college, trying to be the first person in your family to do it, trying to find a job, trying to make ends meet for your family in this economy. You might be trying for something. You applied for that promotion. You didn't get it. You got overlooked. Or they hired someone with less experience than you. Setbacks happen. But it's how we handle them that make a difference. It's how we handle them that determine our true trajectory. And if we can have a story like Dr. King, or if we won't. And so in that moment, I had to move back home, moved in with my parents. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a plan B. That's a far cry from the biography that you just heard. All those wonderful things that I knew were inside of me, that wasn't my reality. You may be in that situation or you may encounter that situation in your future. But I'm here to encourage you that when that happens, you've got to do like Dr. King. Choose to learn from others. How can you do that? How can you do that when you don't have a job? How can you do that when you failed your class? How can you do that when you're sick? You had adversity, something happened, a setback. Here's how you do it. Choose to learn from the experiences of others. So here I am back home. I don't have a plan B. I don't know what to do. So I'm like, okay, let's just try to get a job somewhere. I'm interviewing. I'm going out. No one's hiring. I'm like, man, this economy. And the first thing you're tempted to do is kind of think about all the things that are unfair. And, man, if I was back when my parents were, working, they had, long-term jobs with pensions and all this kind of stuff. Why did I have to graduate in one of the worst recessions? But you can't focus on that. That's not what Dr. King was thinking. He was thinking, how can I use the experiences of other people to make a difference and to really enhance my life and to teach me something new? So instead, I took the one job that would take me. I was hired by a law firm to be a receptionist. Now, there's nothing wrong with being a receptionist, but for me, that was so far away from my goal. I'm like, man, I have a 4-year degree. The person that was a receptionist before me didn't even have a degree. Minimum wage, no benefits. I felt like I was at the bottom. But once again, when a setback happens, when adversity happens, it's not the situation that counts, it's how you handle the situation. So I'll admit, the first few weeks on the job, I was frustrated. I felt like they weren't paying me well. I didn't feel motivated. I didn't feel excited. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to show up. It's just a job. I'm a failure. I didn't get into law school. All my friends are doing great things. I know God has placed something great inside of me, but I'm not seeing it right now. Maybe everything was wrong. But one day I went to work, and I'll never forget. I was praying as I was driving to work, and I felt like God really told me, you can't look at your situation from where you are. You've got to see yourself from where you're going. This is for somebody here today. You're looking at where you are, and you're saying, I'm unemployed. I'm a failure. You're looking where you are. You're looking at your situation saying, man, I had to repeat a grade. I got an F. I'm on academic probation. I don't have the money to pay to keep going to college here at Stetson. You're looking at your situation. Nobody in my family's ever been to college. I'm sick. I have a disability. Something happened to me. You're looking at your situation, but you can't look at where you are right now. You've got to look at where you're going to be. And you have to believe that when nobody else does, when the situations around you don't, when it doesn't look like that's possible, you've got to believe that. You've got to hold on to that and know that there's something great inside of you. And even if it doesn't look like it right now, that's where you're going to be. So in that moment, everything changed for me. I started going to work. Yeah, I was a receptionist. But I was in the lobby, the clients would come in and a lot of them would just be really rude to me or they just ignore me. Oh, that's just a receptionist. So I'd start up a conversation with them anyway. Hey, how you doing? I'm Audrey. So they kind of look at me like, okay, why is she, laughing? Of course, I'd make sure everything was taken care of that they needed. And then I just started talking to them. Yeah, well, I'm working here, but I'm going to law school. I'm going to be a lawyer one day. Okay. Change my attitude. I started dressing up. I was like, well, how should a lawyer dress? Found my best suits, started wearing those to work every day. Then I started looking for opportunities. The attorneys at the law firm, I was like, hey, I know I'm the receptionist, but can I work on that project? Can I, help with this? Can I help with that? My entire attitude changed. And within the course of the next couple of months, I was promoted 3 times. I went from being the receptionist to being a law clerk, even though I had never even been to law school, was working on client matters and everything. But here's the most amazing part. That circumstance allowed me to learn from other people because then I got moved to the real estate department, and that's how I learned about real estate. Before I left that law firm, after just a short 9 months, at the age of 21, I bought my first rental property. And I used that rental property to help pay for law school. And while I was at the law firm, then I reapplied to start law school the next year. And guess what? Every single school that I applied to accepted me. Now, what's the point of this story? I'm telling you, this is for somebody here. Sometimes you're looking at a situation and it feels like a setback. But a setback is really a setup to your success. A setback is really a setup to your success, if you allow it to be. If you choose to do that first principle that Dr. King did, which is to learn from someone else, to learn from others. I chose to learn in that department as they were, giving me those documents and everything. I didn't just say, hey, this is my job. I chose to say, well, we're working on real estate deals. Let me learn how this works. Let me learn from the people who I'm working with. Let me try to use this opportunity as something that can make a difference. And through the course of that process of investing in real estate, that's allowed me to provide awesome housing for people in great communities. We literally buy dilapidated houses, completely renovate them, and put great families in there. We have a professional management company that then treats them with respect. And then I'm also able to provide jobs for hardworking people that want to be able to do something incredible with their skills. Again, when you trust God, when you don't give up on your dreams, when you don't allow your circumstances to dictate your future, you're creating an opportunity for someone else. And that's the first thing we can learn from Dr. King, to use those setbacks as an opportunity to learn from others. That's the first one. All right, now the next number that I shared, 2,500. 2,500. The number 2,500 represents the number of speeches that Dr. King gave. The number of speeches that he gave. Now think about your dream right now. Think about what it is that you're trying to get done. If you're looking for a job and you're like, man, it's such a tough market out, have you put in 2,500 applications? Have you only put in a few? that's a really big number. If you're trying to get your business out, if you're trying to, find more clients and really grow something, have you spoken to 2,500 prospective clients or just a few people? If you're trying to apply to college, have you put in a couple applications or have you done 2,500? Now, here's the thing. I'm not saying you have to do 2,500 of everything, but I am saying that the second strategy that we can learn from Dr. King is to increase your numbers. Increase your numbers. Whatever it is you want to do in life is going to take you longer, it's going to cost more money, and it's going to take more effort than you ever expected. So the way that you get around that is you increase your numbers. You want to get a job? Apply for way more. If you thought it should only take 10 applications, put in 100. And then do that every single day. And then follow up with all 100 of those. If you want to get into school, don't just apply to one. Apply to as many as you can. They actually have financial aid waivers that will waive the application fee. Apply to as many as you can to increase those numbers. Anything that you're trying to do, if you increase the odds, if you get the word out more, increase your numbers like Dr. King did, you're able to really increase your odds of success. Because here's the thing. If Dr. King only gave 10 speeches, would we know about him? What if he gave 20 speeches? I mean, that's still a lot of speeches. I'm a speaker. That's a lot of speeches. 20 speeches? But would we know about him? What if he only gave 100 speeches? What if he gave 200 speeches? You get my drift. 2,500. So the next time you feel frustrated, the next time you feel discouraged, the next time you feel jaded because you're doing something and you're like, man, this feels hard. This is, I'm not getting the results that I want. Think of that second strategy from Dr. King, which is to increase your numbers. With your business, for all my small business owners or entrepreneurs out there, this was a game changer. For me, with my law firm, once I finally, graduated from law school, started my law firm, I was like, okay, here we go. Got through so much adversity. I'm open for business. I got my shiny business cards, sent out invitations to people and announcements. Hey, Chisholm Law Firm, we are open for business. If you want to start a nonprofit, if you want to get a trademark to own your company's logo or slogan, if you want, to start a business or have contracts drafted or reviewed, I'm your person. We're open for business. And something interesting happened. The phone was not ringing. And I'm like, man, where are all the clients? I went through all this. Again, this is my destiny to be this great lawyer and build a firm and be able to make a difference in the community. Where are the people? Again, you've got to increase your numbers. I realized that just telling the people in my circle, that wasn't enough. Because perhaps those people don't need what you have. Maybe you do hair, or maybe you cut lawns, or you have another side business and you're telling your friends on Facebook, maybe that's only 100 people and they don't need that. You've got to increase your numbers. Dr. King gave 2,500 speeches. He got outside of his comfort zone. So in essence, that was a game changer for me. You know what? How can I reach more people? How can I step outside of my circle to find more people that may want what I'm able to do? So increase your numbers, and that was a game changer for us. The moment we started doing that and stopped kind of looking just within our community, just within the immediate circle, but really said, hey, how can we reach more people? Our numbers grew. I couldn't hire enough people fast enough, and we're still doing that. And the same thing applies to you for what you're trying to do. Increase your numbers. That will definitely help your odds. And one last thing, just to kind of encourage everyone. I know the economy is tough, and a lot of people talk about, cutting your expenses and having a budget. In my experience, I found that a lot of people are already good at that. You're already, you've got your budget together, you're living within what you have, etc. But something that will really help is to also focus on increasing the numbers even with your income. If there's a way to apply for that position, apply for that promotion, step outside of your comfort zone, try for management. And remember what I said before, if you don't get it the first time, apply again, keep doing it. Worst case scenario, they'll say, man, she's really persistent. And then maybe the next one you'll get it, but keep going. And remember that number, 2,500. Think of those ways that you can increase that income from a promotion, a raise, being willing to get new skills, do a management program, start a business on the side. But the more that you increase that, guess what? The more that you can help other people. I believe everyone in here, if you had $1 million, I don't think you'd just spend it on yourself. You'd be making a difference. You give back to your community. You'd fix something. You'd change something. You'd do something to effectuate change in a positive way. I believe that about everyone here. So don't limit yourself. Be willing to increase numbers, even your own, because that way you can get the message out like Dr. King did and make more of a difference. All right, so let's move into the last point. The last number that we're going to talk about is the number 1. Okay, the first number we talked about was the number 29. That's the number of times Dr. King was in jail. And that teaches us to learn from others. He studied the lives of people that came before him, and he used those strategies to really become successful. The second number that we talked about was 2,500. That number tells us to increase our numbers. Whatever it is we're trying to do, it's not enough to just try it once or apply once or just say, hey, it didn't work out. No, you've got to do it a whole lot of times and then follow up and then keep at it, because it takes big numbers to really make a difference in some senses. Okay, that's the second thing we learned. Now, the third strategy that we can take away from Dr. King is the number 1. The number 1 represents the one time that there was an assassination attempt on his life when someone stabbed him and he almost died. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not so convinced that I would be really excited to go back to work the next day if someone had stabbed me. That's a lot. That's a lot to deal with. What was it that allowed him to go back to this cause from someone almost taking his life? What could cause him to be that motivated? I don't know that it was that he was that motivated, but I will say that he was committed. And that's the last thing I want to share with everyone today. Stay committed. That is the third thing that we can learn from Dr. King. Anything that's worth having is worth fighting for. And a lot of times the things in life that you're going to try to do, they're not going to work out immediately. It's going to take longer. It's going to cost more money. It's not going to be as easy as you thought it was. But you've got to stay committed to it. And this applies to everything. As you're working in this community, this incredible area and everything you all are building, you've got to stay committed because it's not going to be easy. If you have a relationship, if you have a business that you're building, if you're trying to make a difference, you've got to stay committed to it. The last story I'll share was starting my nonprofit, Revolution Leadership. I still remember I was at Florida State, and I just felt like God kind of just gave me the idea. Hey, you're going to start this nonprofit that's going to make a difference, that's going to change the lives of other young people, teach them how to, graduate debt-free, how to do great things. It's going to be awesome. So I was excited. I'm like, oh, wow. And I'm just envisioning all these people we're going to serve and just all these great things we're going to do. I'm like, oh, this is so great. So then, that summer I came back home and I'm like, okay, I'm going to host my first conference for this new nonprofit that I'm launching, right? I went around the entire community. I'm speaking to people. I'm sharing the vision and just really excited about it. And a lot of people are like, wow, oh, she's a great speaker. Or, oh, okay, great. That was really nice of her to come and speak to us. But no one was giving. I couldn't really, raise any money for it. I'm like, man, this is really hard. So then I said, okay, well, I'm working at this law firm and I'm not making much, but I'm just going to try to take what I made this summer and use that toward the conference. Okay. Small issue to solve, okay? So that was the first thing. But then I'm, getting ready. I'm talking to students, and I'm saying, hey, I'm doing this conference. It's called the Revolution Leadership Retreat. We're going to have resources to help you get into college, to teach you how to pay for school, to teach you about money management, starting a business. I mean, it's going to be a great event. And I'm talking to all these students and, really getting the word out in the community, and I'm so excited about it, right? So then the day of the conference comes. So I've got, I think I had like one suit at the time. So I'm wearing the one suit that I had and I'm feeling good about myself. And I'm like, okay, this is the big day, the first conference ever, ready to make a difference, ready to change the world. I'm living out my destiny. Oh, this is going to be so great. So I showed up at the venue and I'm all set. The food is set up and, I have materials and everything ready to go. And no one shows up. I'm like, well, maybe everybody's just running a little late. Nobody's there. I'm waiting. It's just me. I'm looking around. And so suddenly I start, having all those thoughts like, man, this money that I spent, all my summer earnings from, working at this firm, man, I could have used that to pay for my own tuition. I'm still a student myself. I'm still trying to graduate myself. I'm thinking about my time. Wow, what a waste of time. I spoke to all those students and I spoke to all those groups and I've been doing all this. I'm not getting paid to do any of this. Wow, what a waste. Maybe I wasn't supposed to do this. Maybe, I shouldn't be starting this nonprofit. I mean, nobody even wants what I'm doing. Look, I'm trying to make a difference and no one even wants to, come. And sometimes in life, you're going to be in that situation. You're starting something. You're trying to make a difference. You're trying to be that change agent. You're trying to be like Dr. King. And it just seems like you run into more adversity. So I'm there, I'm looking, I'm thinking about, looking at all this food, and I'm like, man, that's all my summer money down the drain, and, what a waste. And I'm feeling frustrated. And I'll never forget my dad came, because he was coming to support me. I think I might have had him as one of the speakers. And he showed up, and he kind of looked around, and he's like, okay, where's everybody? And I'm like, Dad, nobody's here. I'm not doing this anymore. Nobody's here. What's the point? And I'll never forget, my father looked at me and he said, you know what? If you are willing to give up on your dream this easily, you didn't deserve it to begin with. And I'm thinking to myself, give up? I'm not giving up. I'm here. I invested in this. I put time into this. But I thought about what he said and I'm like, well, what do you mean? I'm not giving up. No one is here. I did everything I could do. No one showed up. And my dad looked at me and was like, look, if you have to give your presentation to the chairs, then you need to do it. Because this is your vision. This is your dream. You need to see it through. So I was like, okay. So got the mic. And with all the energy I could muster up, I was like, welcome to the first ever Revolution Leadership Retreat. And something really amazing happened in that very moment. I looked out the window, and this bus pulled up. And a lady got out, and she had about 10 or 12 students in there. And she came up to the building, and she said, I'm sorry we're late. We didn't have a chance to register. Is it okay if we still come? I've got my students. Is it okay if we still come? And I looked at her, and I'm like, I think we can find maybe a chair or two. But it's so interesting because that became the very first event. And now fast forward many years later, that same conference, this year we will be doing our 16th ever event. So we'll be having our 16th annual conference. If you're in the room, if you're a high school junior or senior, you're invited to attend. It's on Saturday, April 1st at Seminole State College right in Altamont Springs. Check out our website, revolutionleadership.org. We'll be giving out more scholarships, but over that period of time, we've now served 1,550 students. We've given out 26 college scholarships. We've had speakers from all over. We have students that have graduated debt-free. But what would have happened if I didn't stay committed? What would have happened if Dr. King didn't stay committed after that assassination attempt? But the real question is, what will happen if you don't stay committed? If you choose to give up on school, if you choose to give up on your dream to go to college, if you choose to stop looking for a job, if you choose to stop applying for promotions, if you choose not to start that business that you know you should start, if you choose not to make a difference if you're in your community, if you choose not to start that nonprofit, if you choose to walk out on your marriage, what's going to happen? The last thing that we can learn from Dr. King is just how important it is for us to stay committed. You've got to stick through it. You've got to stick with it. Through the hard times, the tough times, it's not always easy. I know social media makes it look like everything is just great all the time for everyone, but that's not real life. Real life means that with every accomplishment, there were some setbacks. There was some adversity. There were some stories behind it. I could tell you all stories all morning. But the reality of it is just like we needed Dr. King to sacrifice, we needed him to learn from others, we needed him to increase his numbers by getting the message out, and we needed him to stay committed, our world needs the same from you. So now here's the last thing I want to share. I'm committed to making a difference. Not just in words, but in actions. I want to see everyone in this room succeed, from the youngest person to the oldest person. I don't care how young you are or how old you are. I believe in you. If nobody else does, I want to see you make it. So here's what we can do. All right. In the program, my name is there. That's my last name, Chisholm. I know it's spelled kind of funny. My last name is Chisholm. If you've got your phone, pull it out. Pull it out if you have a phone. Anybody have a phone with them? I know I keep my phone with me all the time. If you got your phone, pull it out real quick. If there is something you are trying to do, I don't care what it is. You're trying to graduate debt-free and go to college. if you're trying to start a business, if you're having a hard time finding a job, if you've got an idea, if you're just looking for direction, listen, I don't have all the answers, but I want to be the first person to at least be on your team to try to connect you to someone that does. So pull out your phone right now. I'm gonna let you know exactly how to reach me. And for those of you that want to take advantage of it, hit me up, reach out. If there's something I can do, if there's a resource I can point you to, if there's something that I've learned over the years that I can share to help you make a difference, to help you overcome your obstacles, to help you rise up, I'm happy to do it, all right? So in your phone, just put in the address. It's chisholmfirm.com. There's a little contact button right at the top. If you send me a message, I'll get it and I will respond to it, okay? And the last thing that I want to share before I wrap it up and just go, I want to thank the folks right now in my life that are supporting me and that have been there for me through thick and thin. So I just want to give a shout out to my husband. He came today to the program with our 2 beautiful daughters. So I'm just very grateful and thankful for that. So baby, I don't know if he's in here, but if you are, please stand so I can say hi and wave at you. Yay. Awesome. So either way, I want to thank him for all his support. Thank you all for your time. And once again, let's use the 3 strategies from Dr. King. 1, let's learn from others. 2, let's increase our numbers. And 3, let's stay committed. God bless. Thank you for your time.